Oh yes, it's that time again. Hey everyone, it's the Flying Pig here on Flying Pig United for a bit of Monday analysis action. We're going to be doing the Monday Analysis Mobot today, so put your hands up in the air. Don't do that actually, it's a bit lame, but either way, thank you for joining me today on this Monday to talk about the events in football, the news articles, the stories that are going on currently in the footballing world. We're just going to delve into some of it, some of the major headlines on this episode of Monday Analysis. Do chuck a like on this video if you've joined me on this Monday afternoon. Thanks again for tuning in. You can also get involved in the comments section, as I see a couple of people have done here already. Paul Pogba's in the house. Who'd have thought Paul Pogba would have stopped by? And you thought he'd have better things to do. But cheers, Paul, for joining me there. We've got a couple of other legends in here. Simon Bennett. The text on my screen is actually really small, so I pretty much can't make out your names at this stage. But I will go over to the actual live chat bit in a minute. Or later on in the video and interact with you guys and answer some of your questions and react to some of your comments. But yeah, I mean, I wanted to kick things off with Manchester United signing Romelu Lukaku. It looks imminent. Medical's been done. Get in there, my son. Have some of that, Chelsea, you bunch of scumbags. We've stolen from under your noses. It's a quality signing, I think. You know, forget the money. The money's outrageous. He's not worth that. Who is actually worth that? But football's just gone mad. Something like 75 million plus 15 million and add-ons, and basically Wayne Rooney going the other way has got Lukaku to Manchester United, which is an insane amount of money. I mean, if you look at it like that, the different sort of aspects of the transfer, then it pretty much is the world record, in my opinion. So it's an insane amount of money to spend on someone, but what you're getting with Romelu Lukaku is a player who has consistently done it in the Premier League. He scores 20-odd goals a season, 25 last season, similar sort of number the season before. Ever since he was at West Brom, basically, on loan, he's been banging the goals and in the Premier League. So, you know, to get a player who is only 24 years of age, who is only getting better, who is already probably one of the most physical forwards in the Premier League, and one of the best goal scorers as well, it's just an absolute masterclass by Jose Mourinho, Ed Woodward, Manchester United, everybody involved here. That's a great player to bring to this club. It will improve our starting 11. I mean, I personally would have kept Zlatan Ibrahimovic as well. I know he's injured for a while. It would have been nice to have Zlatan to call on later in the season. The shirt sales, the commercial ventures, all that sort of thing add up to a really marketable player for Manchester United, and someone who could just come in a Champions League semi-final or something and do something magic. So I'm still a little bit gutted that we're not keeping Zlatan Ibrahimovic around at United, but he is injured for a period of time. We've got the next best thing in terms of Romelu Lukaku, who hopefully will be able to live up to that sort of billing in terms of being the goal scorer for Manchester United, leading from the line there, being that big physical presence up front. I see no reason why Romelu Lukaku can't actually score more goals than Zlatan Ibrahimovic did last season in this coming season for Manchester United. So I think that's a great signing. Plus, it's just great to rob a player off those scumbags, Chelsea, isn't it? You know, it really is. Antonio Conte's pulling his hair out. He's got lovely Italian hair, that bloke, and he's pulling it out right now. He's going to be bald come start the season because he's not happy about Chelsea's movements in the transfer window. They've barely signed anybody, and of course they were hopefully going to be re-signing Romelu Lukaku. That's looking like it's definitely not going to happen, and he is going to be joining Manchester United. So have some of that, Chelsea, you bunch of wankers. Oh, it feels good. But it does sort of beg a question. Who is Chelsea going to sign then? Because if they need a striker, and they do need a striker because Diego Costa is out of sorts there. Antonio Conte's already told him he's not part of his plans this season. I don't really know what happened with Diego Costa, you know. What a player. He's an unbelievable player. Let me just put this out there. He's a complete tosspot, isn't he? Just look at the man. If he wasn't a professional footballer, he'd probably be stealing people's purses on the streets of Marrakesh or something. Who knows? But either way, he's a bit of a tosspot. So, you know, you can sort of understand it. It looks like he wanted to leave Chelsea just simply for the money. He was trying to fashion a move away from Stamford Bridge to go to China at one point last season, which the only reason you go to China when you're at the level of Diego Costa is for the money. And of course, he would have got a shitload of money out there. But surely, if you're getting 200k a week or whatever he's getting, that's enough, Diego. Come on. Not only that, you get the accolades of actually competing in the Premier League, being at a good club like Chelsea. Let's be honest now, they won the Premier League. They're in the Champions League. They're challenging for everything pretty much under Antonio Conte. He's a really good manager. They've got a really good squad. There's not many better situations in world football for Diego Costa to be in than to be the main man at Chelsea scoring the goals. So I think he's had an absolute double daymare trying to move away from Stamford Bridge, and he'll probably end up actually going to a lesser club and winning less things, but maybe on a bit more money. So yeah, nice one, Diego. You're a twat, pal. But that's his prerogative, that's his choice in life. If he wants to do that, looks like it's pretty much determined that he will be leaving Chelsea. Conte doesn't want him, which is a shame really for them, because if I'm a Chelsea fan, I'm gutted that we're losing out on a really class striker like Diego Costa. He's physical, he's strong, he's also got a brilliant eye for goal. He's a similar sort of player to Romelu Lukaku. He's got that nasty streak to him as well, which I sort of like in a player, to be honest. Somebody who's going to go out there and mix things up a little bit and try and get defenders sent off for being a complete tosser. But that's what he does. He wins your games, he wins your points, he gets your goals. So they're going to be at a big loss not having Diego Costa starting in their side next season, and they've got a big hole to fill. Who are they going to fill it with? Well, apparently they're making a move for Alvaro Morata from Real Madrid. They're trying to hijack Manchester United's deal. You can just fine have our reject. You know what I mean? We've got Lukaku, the player you wanted primarily, the player we wanted. We've got him. So yeah, you can have Morata now. To be fair, I think Manchester United might actually still have a punt on Morata. Who knows? Imagine that though, lads and lasses. If Manchester United not only stole Romelu Lukaku from Chelsea, but we also stole Morata from them as well. That'd be brilliant. In terms of the two players, there was a lot of people that would have actually preferred Morata to come to Manchester United. He does look like a really exciting player. I saw more of him when he was on loan at Juventus, or actually when they signed him and they had a buyback clause, didn't they, Real Madrid, so they got him back. But when he was at Juventus, he was a goal scoring machine. He was brilliant. Haven't seen so much of him actually for Real Madrid, but from what I understand, he had a great season last season, and he's the same age as Romelu Lukaku, only 24 years of age. So I think for anybody to sign him, that would also be a very good signing. But out of the two players, I must say, out of the two players, given the choice, Romelu Lukaku, Alvaro Morata, both the same age, both goal scoring players, I would actually go for Romelu Lukaku. I'm not just saying that because we've actually got him at Chelsea. I'm not just saying that because of that, but I also just think he's proven in the Premier League. He's scored 25 goals last season in the Premier League, similar sort of number before, and he's just been scoring for 4 years in the Premier League. He's a consistent player. You know what you're going to get from him. And he's very physical as well. He's not really ever been played with any injury issues, anything like that. He's a very consistent performer. And I think he'll only actually do better in a side like Manchester United compared to Everton, where he's going to get more service and be more of a focal point. So I think that's a really good bit of business for Manchester United. Given the two, that's my personal opinion. What do you guys think about that? Would you, at the start of this window, rather have seen Romelu Lukaku come to Manchester United for £75 million, or Alvaro Morata coming to Manchester United for somewhere in a similar sort of region? Apparently there's £70 million being bandied around from the fee that Chelsea are going to have to pay in order to bring Morata to Stamford Bridge from Real Madrid. Either way, I think it's a good signing. I think both teams would end up with good strikers, but every single time I would go for the one with a proven track record in the Premier League. Let me know what you guys think about that. But let me just check out some of the comments here, actually, see if anybody's got anything to add on Diego Costa and also Alvaro Morata here. Let's have a look. So, anybody else see the sadness in Rooney's eyes as he pretends to be happy with being at Everton? It was weird seeing Rooney. We've just gone totally off topic here, but that's the first comment I read. I don't think he looks sad in his eyes, actually. I think he's probably pretty happy because he's gone back to Everton there, this club that he supported as a boy, and now actually wearing Everton pyjamas doesn't make him a complete sad bastard, does it? Because he's actually playing for the club. Now, hang on a second. It does make him a sad bastard. This is a grown man, a 30-year-old who's wearing freaking Everton pyjamas to bed. You're having a laugh, Wayne. Sort your freaking life out, pal. But let's have a look at some of the comments here. Number 10 is for Lukaku. I hope to see more signings from Manchester United from Chris Chandra. Hi, Chris. Thanks for tuning in there. Unbelievably, Gauss says, Rooney wears pyjamas. I always thought United's black socks looked like old man socks. Fair enough, I guess they do a little bit. But yeah, Rooney apparently does wear pyjamas to bed. Sort your freaking life out, Wayne. That's all I can say about the situation. But, I mean, given the choice out of the two players, get your comments in right now. Who would you have at Manchester United, Lukaku or Morata? I think both of them would be very good, but I think the likeliness of Morata going to Chelsea is actually a lot less likely than Lukaku going to either of them a couple of weeks ago, because Real Madrid do want to keep Morata. They bought him back from Juventus for a reason, and Zinedine Zidane is in no rush to get rid of him. He knows what a good player is. He knows what a good player is going to turn into. They may not have the number of games right now to keep him satisfied in terms of playing every single game, week in, week out. You know, bearing that in mind, I still don't think it's as likely to happen as, say, Lukaku coming to United, which is a done deal. So I think Conte might be pulling that beautiful Italian hair out even more very soon, because they may not end up with him. And in which case, who are they going to sign? If there's any Chelsea players that have come in and joined this live stream, Chelsea players, Chelsea fans who have come out, I don't want no Chelsea players in here, a bunch of mugs. All the fans, actually, so there's probably none anyway. But if you join me now, let me know who you would want to come to Chelsea if you couldn't get Alvaro Morata. Not the easiest name to say. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm pretty happy with the choice that Manchester United have made in putting our eggs in the Lukaku basket, so to speak. It was looking more likely that Morata was the number one in terms of transfer targets for Manchester United, but we seem to have made a U-turn when it became pretty evident that we could get Lukaku, and I think you've always got to go for that proven man. Yeah, I mean, on the Wayne Rooney thing, actually, Wayne Rooney has trained with Everton today. It does look pretty strange seeing Wayne Rooney in an Everton shirt, even though he came from Everton and there's pictures of him when he's 16 years old in an Everton strip. It is weird just to see him in a different kit other than a Manchester United kit, because he has been a great servant to Manchester United for 13 years. 13 years he's been doing the business. Say what you want about Wayne Rooney, but he is a United legend. Not just for the number of goals that he scored, but the amount of success he had a big hand in at Manchester United is unbelievable. Also, the unreal goals that he scored for Manchester United go down in history. I mean, I can think of loads of Wayne Rooney goals that are just ridiculous. You know, the volley against Newcastle, the goal against Arsenal, the goal from the halfway line, that half volley, that was insane. The overhead kick against Man City, of course, the hat-trick on his debut against Fenerbahce as a 17-year-old, first game in the Champions League, debut for Manchester United. What does he do? He scores a freaking hat-trick. You know, those moments will live on long in the memory of many Manchester United fans. So, you know, he's done himself a great credit by leaving United on good terms. There wasn't all this fanfare like there was with the whole John Terry situation, but it is a bit of a different situation because he's not a one-club man, technically, even though he pretty much is because he's been there for 13 years. He is an Evertonian at heart. He's an Everton fan, of course, at heart. So, you know, it's kind of pissed me off a little bit that he hasn't been given more of a send-off, more of a farewell, but there you go, that's how it is. The timing wasn't right, of course. He has gone to Everton. I'm sure he'll be very successful there. Ronald Koeman's got himself a really good player there, somebody who can, you know, who's got the experience to impart onto the younger players, who's been there, he's done that, he's got egg on the t-shirt, you know, he's scored goals in important games, Champions League finals. He's won Champions League finals. He's won absolutely everything there is to win at club level, and he's also the record goal scorer for England, which is a huge achievement in itself as well. So he's going to go into Everton there. He'll probably play a significant amount of games. He'll be fighting 100% for the shirt because he is an Evertonian. You know, sort of a boyhood dream for him to return there after having a ridiculously successful career at Manchester United. He's now going to go back to the club that he loved as a boy, and you bet your ass that he's going to be performing. I think he's going to really kick on this season, actually. You know, the last couple of seasons, I'm sorry, but he's just looked a little bit like he doesn't want to be there at times, you know, and Wayne Rooney's always that player. You see him fighting with 100% determination. He wears his heart on his sleeve, and I didn't see that. Certainly over the last year, I didn't see that enough, and he didn't feature in enough games, you could argue. But I just saw him fizzle off to the end of his Manchester United career, which is a shame. But I think the move to Everton may actually revive that for Wayne Rooney. He may be able to impress. He may be able to work his way back into the England setup. You know, he's actually only like 6 or 7 games away from being the all-time appearance maker, with the player with the most caps in an England shirt, including the goalkeepers, I think. So that would be an unreal achievement if he could get to that, as well as having the goals record, that sort of thing. And I think he can do that this season at Everton. He's only 31 years of age. I know he's a little bit of a fat body, and he looks like a little miniature version of Shrek. He doesn't look like the healthiest players. He smokes fags, and he, you know, sleeps with grannies, and these sorts of things that add up to not being the healthiest of players. And he is a little bit injury prone later in his career, but he's still got a lot to offer, this lad. He's still ridiculously determined, he's dogged, like I say, he's so experienced. The technique of the lad is not in question. Some of the goals he scored are unbelievable. The amount of goals are unbelievable. He's a natural born finisher. He really is. That season when Ronaldo left, the season after that, he scored 26 goals or whatever in the league, putting a ridiculous amount of match-winning performances for us in all competitions. Really great season from Wayne Rooney. That one, probably my favourite season out of them all. But it just goes to show you that he's been there, he's done that, he's got the experience, and he will continue to do that. Maybe not at the same success rate as at United, and obviously he will be playing in a bit of a weaker team. But I think it's exciting times for Everton to get a player like Wayne Rooney, who's still only 31, who's still a really good player. They've lost Lukaku there, but they've gained a lot of money from Lukaku, and they've gained Wayne Rooney, who is going to fight his heart out for them for free. So that's a brilliant signing from them. And not only that, now they've got a bit of a war chest. Ronald Koeman will be looking to sign some other big players. You know, I think Everton are going to be trying to push to break in certainly to the top 6 this season based on the players that they got and the players that they could sign. I hear they're looking to sign Gylfi Sigurdsson from Swansea, which would be a brilliant signing. That man is so underrated. What an unbelievable player. His free kicks, you know, his set pieces, and also just his creative play that he displays for Swansea week in, week out. He's a really good player. I think if they got somebody like that in the centre of their park, they could actually be really very, very tough to beat next season if they've got somebody like Gylfi Sigurdsson supplying somebody like Wayne Rooney. And there's talk of, you know, other players coming in as well. They'll get another striker and have Rooney playing in that number 10 role. Maybe that's the case, but there's a lot of options for Everton at the moment. I think it's exciting times if you're a toffee. Who really cares? But I think it'll be exciting for them and a good season for them. And I expect Wayne Rooney to score a handful of goals this season, you know, this upcoming season. I think 15 goals is a reasonable target for him to get in terms of the league. And I think he will probably be playing in that number 10 role. He'll probably be taking the penalties. So I think that's a reasonable expectation for him. I just hope that Romelu Lukaku outscores Wayne Rooney this season, because that would be a bit shit if he didn't. I was actually saying in my previous video, I wonder what the odds were for Lukaku to score less goals than Rooney in the Premier League. And if you can get good odds on that, I'd put a cheeky bet on it, because Rooney is a goal scorer. Lukaku could get injured. Anything can happen. Who knows? So, yeah, I mean, it's a bit disappointing to see Wayne Rooney leave in the way he has done without any fanfare and all that sort of thing. But I just want to say, you're a freaking legend, Wayne. You are a legend. The fact that he said he's worn Everton pyjamas all these years makes me think he's slightly a bit less of a legend. Plus, like I said earlier, what grown man actually wears pyjamas to bed? Sort your freaking life out, Wayne, there. That's 100%. Right, let's go back to the comments section, see what you guys have said, and I'll respond to some of them now. Thanks once again for tuning in. You're a bunch of legends. Do me a favour, if you're here in this live stream right now, chuck a like on this video. You smash the thumbs up button down there. Also, if you're new to this channel, do subscribe. I try to bring a whole host of mild entertainment wrapped around football news and also my passionate love for Manchester United. So if you're new around here, you know, please do stick around. Jeff Hindley in the house. Hi, Jeff. Thanks for commenting. He comments and says Sigurdsson should come to United. He's actually a player a couple of years ago I would have said we should have signed, because he's very consistent. Like I say, he's very creative, very influential in that Swansea side. And I think he's got the ability in him to step up to the next sort of level. I was surprised when Spurs got rid of him. And all he's done is kick on at Swansea. He's really improved as a player. He's their pivotal driving force in the centre of the park. Now, Manchester United could do a lot worse than signing Gylfi Sigurdsson. I know that maybe sounds a bit silly because, you know, Spurs didn't want him, went to Swansea. But we could do a whole lot worse than signing Gylfi. Gylfi is a good old player, don't you get me wrong. Just Steve comments and says, yes, Pig. Yes, Steve. Thanks very much for the comment. Jack Clements comments and says Kane is going to get the golden boot no matter what. Quite possibly could be the case. He's certainly done that in the last couple of seasons. Last year was absolutely unbelievable, wasn't he? And he missed a lot of games due to injury, and he still managed to get that golden boot. So that was a heck of an achievement for him. He's pretty much the best Premier League striker right now, isn't he? And he's English. That's really great for England. By the way, in the Euros, he turned into the invisible man, as pretty much all English players do when they're playing for the national side, bunch of melters. But for Spurs, he's an absolute goal machine. He really is. He's sort of like the English Ruud van Nistelrooy in that sense. You know, he's got, apart from he's got a lot more to his game than Ruud. He's really great in and around the box at just finishing those pot shots and all that sort of thing. But also, he's got a strike on him, does the lad. So, you know, I think you might be right. Harry Kane should win the Golden Boot next season. Spurs are only getting stronger. They've got a very youthful side, and they're improving all the time. I think Harry Kane, you're going to have to put in a really heck of a good performance all season long to come anywhere near to beating Harry Kane for the Golden Boot. That's true. He's actually the player that I would love to take at Manchester United. It's just a shame that Spurs are in the Champions League these days, and they are a good team, because a couple of years ago they were shite and they couldn't break into the top four on a regular basis anyway, and that would have been a good time to get Harry Kane. Of course, he's a Spurs fan. It's going to make it more difficult. But Rooney was an Everton fan. Look what happened with that. But the more that Spurs progress, the better they get, the more likely that it is that he's going to see out his career at Tottenham and can maybe even win some stuff with them as well. And you've got to like that about a player. If they're loyal and they stay with the club that they support, then fair play to him. But he is a player I'd love to see in a Manchester United shirt. But we've got the next best thing in the Premier League. We've got Romelu Lukaku, who's come in there for a crazy fee. But he's going to bang in the goals for us. I have no doubt about that whatsoever. Let me know what you guys think. Alex G says, what would you prefer out of another striker or a new holding midfielder? That's a great question, Alex. I'd have to say I'd prefer a holding midfielder now we've got Lukaku, because I don't want to hinder Marcus Rashford too much. I don't want to see Marcus Rashford played out wide. I think we've got enough wide players who can play those sorts of positions, you know, Martial, Mkhitaryan. Rashford is utilised there by Jose Mourinho on a regular basis, or at least he was in the last season. But I want to see him playing in that number 9 role, on the last man, running in behind defenders, using that pace and that really natural finishing ability he has as well to really hurt teams. That's what I want to see. And I think if you're signing Lukaku, that's going to hinder the opportunities he's going to get. But there's also loads of games for Manchester United to play this season. We're all in all competitions. You need to, of course, field different players in different competitions, League Cup, FA Cup, Champions League, all these sorts of things. So we need a good squad. We need players capable of coming in there when Romelu needs a break or he's picked up a little knock or whatever. We need somebody capable of coming in there and doing the business. And I think Marcus Rashford is that player. We could sign Alvaro Morata or somebody like that, you know, another striker we could do. And that would only strengthen our striking options. You know, Fergie always wants to have 4 really top strikers, but the game's evolved a little bit. A lot of teams play with just one up top. Certainly Manchester United have done that under Jose. So I think, you know, it's not exactly as necessary as it maybe used to be to have that number of top quality strikers and that depth in those positions. So I would actually go for the holding midfielder, because I think we need that more. You know, we don't want to see Marouane Fellaini playing too much. Don't get me wrong, Marouane Fellaini had a good season under Jose Mourinho. Jose used him well. Of course, he had a few catastrophes and mares there and here and there. Of course he's going to, because he's Marouane Fellaini and he's a bit shit at football. Of course he's going to have some mares here and there. But by and large, I think he was used really well by Jose, and he actually put in a really good performance, especially towards the end of the season, and was one of United's better, more influential players. So I'd keep him around. He's a useful, sort of big, spongy-headed, awkward player to come on and just be a big tree at the end of the games, isn't he? He is. Really useful player, and also good defensively, good defending set pieces, good attacking set pieces, holding the ball up, that sort of thing. I'd keep him, but I don't think he should be starting every single freaking game, you know, like Jose had him pretty much towards the end of last year. He played a ridiculous amount of games, and I personally got a little bit like, is this the best we can do? So I do think Manchester United need to sign a holding midfielder, somebody with a bit of bollocks about them, you know, somebody with a bit of class. There's not that many to choose from who are not at rivals and that sort of thing. There was talk about Matic coming. I think that's a great player to sign. He's really solid. You know, he's like a brick wall in the centre of Chelsea's midfield. And certainly when Jose had him there the second time around, in playing in tandem with Fabregas, I mean, they were basically like the 2 best sort of mixture of players to have in there, because you had somebody who was really creative, who could thread those balls through, find a man, those lovely through balls, and then you had somebody who just stopped absolutely everything, and that's something that Fabregas didn't do at all, but it's something that Matic does and almost makes up for the role of 2 men there. Of course, they got Kante. You know, players like that are few and far between that can really win you games from that holding midfield role, and I think he's one of them. So if he's surplus to requirements at Chelsea, and I'm Jose, I would certainly try and get him, but I don't think Chelsea are going to want to play ball with us at all in terms of that transfer. I don't think that's going to happen, so I don't think that's realistic. But given the choice, I would go for a holding midfielder. That was a good answer, wasn't it there? I just spoke for about 3 minutes from some tiny little question. You got your money's worth there, pal. Ted Zavala comments and says, Lukaku proven, Morata not. Totally agree with you, Ted. You know, Morata's proven in Serie A, he's sort of proven over in La Liga, but he's not proven in the Premier League. And we've seen time and time again, how many players have you seen come over to the Premier League with all this hype, and they haven't been able to replicate the form that they showed in whatever league they've come from in the Premier League? You know, Ricky van Wolfswinkel springs to mind. You know, was smashing them in, 27 goals a season or whatever it was over in the Dutch league. Comes over to Norwich, he's absolutely shit. You know, it's not just him. There's loads of players. That Janssen at Spurs, and these are not players who are coming from the top leagues in Europe. These are, again, you know, the Eredivisie players coming over, but it happens in all scenarios. You know, Diego Forlan came over to Manchester United, and although I loved Forlan and I loved the way he played, he couldn't hit the side of a Renault Espace if he was standing 2 yards in front of it, could he? Certainly not while he was at United anyway, which is a huge shame because he was such a classy player, but it just didn't happen for him in the Premier League, and that happens sometimes. Happens a lot, actually, if you get players coming from a totally different footballing culture, footballing climate. The speed, the athleticism involved in the Premier League is probably of a higher standard than that of Serie A and the Bundesliga and even La Liga by and large. So it's a totally different game, really, when you come over to the Premier League. It is fast, it is hard, it is quick-paced, and some players take at least 6 months, at least a few months, at least a year to actually settle into that and improve, and sometimes they never find their feet in the Premier League. It happens time and time again, so I totally agree with you, Ted. I think we'd rather have Romelu Lukaku at Manchester United, who's a proven goal scorer in the Premier League and does have that physicality, knows how to jostle a defender. God, that sounded a bit gay, didn't it? You know what I mean, though. Knows how to get the best of a defender in the Premier League, and he's done that. He's shown that time and time again. He's physical. Nobody's going to mess with him in terms of, you know, physicality in the Premier League. He's shown what a great player he is. So I totally agree. I think Romelu Lukaku is the man to sign right now if you can't sign Harry Kane, which we can't. Josh Cahill pops up in the house and says, with how much you wasted on Pogba, 50 million for Sigurdsson is a steal. Pogba is the most overrated player in the Prem. Well, there's a fair bit of negativity coming from you there. But in terms of the price tag, overrated, overinflated price tag, I sort of can't really fault what you're saying there because, you know, if you're talking about value for money, Sigurdsson is a consistent performer. I don't think he's as good as Paul Pogba on his day, but over the last year, he was more consistent than him. Paul Pogba, a couple of performances this season were absolutely unbelievable. He was out of this world. He controlled the game. He bossed the game. He broke everything up in the centre of the park. He created all sorts for his teammates, and there's a big argument to say that if more of the chances that he created, that he put on a plate for his teammates were converted, then we wouldn't even be having this conversation about him being overrated at all. But fact is, they didn't get put in the back of the net. He wasn't as influential as we all hoped he would be on a consistent basis. He just wasn't. He's a great player, and he displays that every so often. When he was playing for Juventus in Serie A, he did it week in, week out, scoring these 30-yard screamers, winning games, taking games by the scruff of the neck, and winning them for Juventus. But it is a different league. It's a different style, as I said. And I think the Premier League is more challenging. It's more evenly distributed throughout the league in terms of the talent and the money on offer as well. I mean, I think it's something ridiculous like the team that finishes 17th gets more money than, you know, the team that wins Serie A or something in terms of TV deals, rights, all that sort of thing. So, yeah, I mean, I can't really fault what you're saying, but I do think Paul Pogba's got a lot more to show for United. He's got a lot more to come this season. We're going to know pretty early on whether or not Paul Pogba's going to be that player for Manchester United. You know, United have always been about having a great midfield. I want to go deep into something here, actually. You just made me think of something. Manchester United, we've had great strikers over the years, haven't we? But it's not really been our main thing, has it? The main thing has always been a ridiculously solid back four, a great world-class goalkeeper, and a ridiculously talented world-class midfield, especially the two lads in the middle there, Scholesy, Keane. You know, it's always been about that. And the defences we've had over the years, you can't get much better than Evra and Vidic, Ferdinand, Gary Neville back in the day. You can't get much better than that. And that's always been the case. But the strikers have sort of come and gone. You know, we had Dwight York, Andy Cole. They were ridiculously good, weren't they, together? Didn't last that long. You've had players come in like Alan Smith, Teddy Sheringham. You know, random sort of players. Diego Forlan came in there. And we've never really had that consistency up top that we've had for the rest of the team. We just haven't. You know, we've had unbelievable strikers come in there. We've had, you know, Ronaldo when he was played up there. We've had Wayne Rooney, who's definitely up there and with a shout as being one of United's better forward players over the years. We've had Ruud van Nistelrooy, who is, in my opinion, the best striker United had. Eric Cantona, unbelievable players. But we've always had this sort of mix and this jostling in terms of the teams up top there, in terms of the players up top featuring the team. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer coming in there. You know, it's more been about United having a ridiculously solid backline, a ridiculously solid midfield, and then the striking options, it's not always been about that. You know, the team shared the goals. But I've totally gone off on what you actually said here, mate. I've lost the plot. I've lost the plot. But I think what I was trying to say is basically United over the years have not really focused too much on the striking positions, and it's always been about the back four and the midfield. So I want to see us improve those positions more, and then Lukaku's going to do the business, Rashford's going to do the business up top there. So here we are. Comment. I've sort of gone off on a tangent there, forgot what I was even answering, but thanks for the question, whatever it was. I've got a bit of a scatterbrain today. Ed D says, you're off it, mate. Watch some League One. Fabinho is everything we need. Well, you may be right there, pal. I don't watch any of that French shit, quite frankly. Don't want to see Paris Saint-Germain and Monaco battle it out for the French League trophy. Don't really want to do that. United Lads comments and says, what software are you using for the live streams, Flying Pig United? Thanks for your question, United Lads. I'm using OBS Studio. It's like a free share software you can use on a Mac. So it's actually pretty decent, does the job anyway, seems to be okay. OBS Studio is what it is called. Beata Jönsson, guessing he's Swedish, if you're not, correct me, but Beata Jönsson from Stockholm says, wouldn't it be sweet? Sweet, we turned into a Dutchman. Wouldn't it be sweet if we hijacked Morata? It would be sweet, wouldn't it? It really would. I think that would really just piss Antonio Conte off. It would piss all the Chelsea fans off. It would go to show United are just a force in the transfer market. We really are. I mean, I think, we are the biggest club in England, whatever people say about it. Even when we didn't have Champions League football, we were still signing players like Falcao or was that the season actually we did have Champions League football under Moyes. But we've always signed big players, Zlatan Ibrahimovic being one of them. Even if we've not had Champions League football. If Chelsea didn't have Champions League football, I'm not so sure they could sign. Actually, that's bullshit because it was any other season they didn't, and they still managed to sign big players. But what I'm trying to say is, the point I'm trying to make is, Manchester United are the biggest club in England, where they've got the best history, the best traditions. We've got the most draw in terms of players wanting to come and play for us because we are a huge global brand. Chelsea are getting there, of course, but it's all post-2003, isn't it? Before that, they were a cup side. If not for Roman Abramovich and his billions, they'd be nowhere, quite frankly. So, I think players would rather come to Manchester United from abroad and represent United and play in that red shirt, that storied red shirt. The history behind the club, it's unrivaled in world football, really. We're lucky as Manchester United fans to be supporting a club that has such a rich tradition and an unbelievable history, right back to Newton Heath, right back to the Munich air disaster, and then winning the European Cup 10 years later on. From a bare bones side, a whole new side apart from Charlton and the goalkeeper, I think it was, pretty much 10 years to the day later, winning the Champions League final, or the European Cup as it was called back in that day. We've got an unbelievable tradition. We've won the most things in English football now. So, if I'm a player coming from abroad wanting to play in the Premier League, and Chelsea come in for me, and City come in for me, and United come in for me, and the Scousers come in for me, I'm definitely choosing Manchester United. And I don't know if that's me being biased as a Manchester United fan, but on the face of it, I just think United are the best club in England, regardless of where we finished last season. And we've got the ability to actually kick on and challenge for everything, just like the other top teams have got this season. So don't rule Manchester United out from winning the Champions League this year. That's all I'm saying. The Coconut Jam says Lindelof over Rudiger. Rudiger, of course, signed for Chelsea. Good player, good German international, 24 I think he is. Looks like a really good player. They signed him for a significant amount of money. You're saying Lindelof is better than him. I can't really comment, to be fair, because I haven't seen either of them play much. Rudiger's actually a player that I've heard a lot more about. Lindelof, not so much, but I'm thinking that if Manchester United are prepared to spend that sort of money on him, and put that faith in him to come in and actually be that centre-back for Manchester United, I've got a feeling he's going to be the tits. He's going to be another Eric Bailly. So that's what I hope happens. But yeah, I mean, time will only tell on that, the Coconut Jams. Thank you very much for your comment. But I hope Lindelof's better than Rudiger, but this season will certainly show that. Archie's in the house. He comments and says, Pig, do you think United need another striker in case Lukaku gets injured? I don't think Rashford is ready to fill that role now that United have Champions League football. It's a good point. We're battling on all fronts now. A lot more fronts where we've got to field teams on. And if Lukaku gets a knock, picks up an injury, what we're going to do? I mean, I would stick in Marcus Rashford. I would. I think he's that good. He's 19 years old. He's the future of Manchester United. He's the future of England. I would hate to see him not get the game time. not get the experience and improve into the player that he can, because that lad has got some serious potential. He showed that in the season that Louis van Gaal brought him in. He was brought in pretty much out of necessity by Louis van Gaal. You know, give credit to Louis van Gaal for selecting the youth players that he did, but a lot of it was down to injury problems. He's given that opportunity to him, and he's grasped that opportunity. He showed what an unbelievable player was. For me, he was the player of that year. Of course, David De Gea, but he was the outfield player of the year, because he come in and made a huge impact, and he scored some really important goals in really important games and won us a lot of points, did Marcus Rashford. And he was only 18 years old at the time. He's still only 19 or maybe 20 now, but he's still a young lad, and he's really improving, I think. I mean, okay, there was times last season where he went on a bit of a goal drought, but he showed come the end of the season, he was back to it. He's back in there scoring important goals for Manchester United with the limited opportunities that he was given by Mourinho. And Mourinho stuck him out on the in the wide positions out there on the left, and he's performed to a good standard. But I think he is more suited naturally to being a striker in that number 9 role. And I think he's every bit of player that we need to come in there and deputise for Lukaku whenever we need him to do that. I really do. I believe that. Lukaku can't play 60 games. He can't play all of them. He just can't. But we can have somebody like Rashford coming in there and doing it. I think he is good enough to be that player. I know you've got your doubts about him, but I think he's good enough to be that player to come in and score 15 goals for Manchester United as the second string striker there. I also don't think we should sign Morata. Listen, it's 70 million quid. We could use that money better elsewhere. Maybe get another defender, another midfielder. We could use that money better elsewhere. Now we've got Lukaku. I don't think it's the highest of priorities for Manchester United to get another forward player. It would be nice, yeah, if we're going to sign other players as well to bring Morata in. But 70 million quid is what is the amount that's being touted as what it would take to bring him to United. I don't think it's good value for money right now. Now we've got Lukaku. I think we've got Rashford there. I don't want to see his progression and his potential halted in any way, because I think he's that good. I think he's that good for United in the future. I think he's that good for England in the future to be a real world-class talent. He's got a lot of improving to do. He's got a long way to go, but he's got youth on his side. He's so young. He's already displayed the finishing ability, the talent he's got. I always likened him to a Chicharito Hernandez, you know, Xavier Hernandez, that sort of a player. But he's got more potential than him. He hangs on the last man. He's ridiculously quick, sort of like a young Michael Owen. Obviously not quite as good as a young Michael Owen, because that's about as good of a young player as you can get, really. But not far off. I think he's got the ability, and if he was given the game time and given the experience and given, you know, the responsibility in that United side, then he's actually going to turn into one heck of a player. So I don't want to see his progression halted. I wouldn't sign Morata. I'd sign somebody else. And if I do think United maybe do need another striker. You want 3 really good strikers up there, don't you? I would go and get Xavier Hernandez. There's talk of him going to West Ham or something for £12 million. Come on, Woodward. Come on, Mourinho. Bring him back to Manchester United. We shouldn't have got rid of him in the first place. If you want to talk about a natural-born finisher, Xavier Hernandez is that man. He can come on, be that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer type player, the super sub. Come on, get your 15 goals a season. Really natural finisher. And, you know, he's just recently taken over as Mexico's all-time goal scorer. Goes to show you the measure of the man. You know, Rooney's England's all-time goal scorer. Ronaldo's Portugal's all-time goal scorer. Xavier Hernandez is Mexico's all-time goal scorer. And Mexico are a good footballing side. They are, you know, they're not up there with the superpowers in world football, but they're not far off. They're a really good side. They produce some really good technical players. So if I'm United, I would say just have Morata, Chelsea. Just have him. We'll take Xavier Hernandez for 12 million, and then we'll try and sign Matic or somebody like that, and try and improve the side in other positions. So to answer your question, I don't think we do need Morata. I think we'd be better off going to get Xavier Hernandez back to United and getting somebody else, now that we've got Lukaku anyway. King Halishon says Lukaku deal. Sorry, King Hailstone. He comments and says Lukaku deal reminds me of Van Persie deal, signing Premier proven goal scorer and win the league. That's a really good comparison you've made there, because some people were saying, you know, why sign a player from your rival? Why spend that sort of amount of money on him if he's just going to be there for a season or two, whatever. But Alex Ferguson is a very clever man. A player became available, Robin Van Persie, who at the time for me was the best striker in world football. We're not counting Messi and Ronaldo in this, talking about striker. The best striker in world football. We got him for 24 million because his contract was running out and Arsenal wanted some money for him. That was one of the best signings I can think of in my career as being a Manchester United fan, because you know, he was the best player and best striker in world football at the time. He was proven in the Premier League, as you say, banging the goals in left, right and centre for fun over at Arsenal. What did he do? He came over to United. He scored 30 goals that season or whatever it was. And he's fired Manchester United to the league trophy in Ferguson's last season. You know, that is what you want. You want proven goal scorers. Of course, Fergie tried to sign Alan Shearer at one point. Of course he did. Why? Because you want proven goal scorers, and that would have been an unbelievable signing. It didn't happen, of course, went to Newcastle, but we tried to sign him. You want to try to sign these players because they're proven in the Premier League. It's all well and good getting this new up-and-coming star with potential from a different league, a different club, whatever. You know, I remember actually, you've took me off on another tangent here. I remember actually when we signed Anthony Martial, and he was pretty unknown to me, of course, unless you guys play FIFA and all that stuff. He was pretty unknown to me, really. I haven't seen much of him. And I thought, this guy's 19 and we're spending 40 mil on him or whatever it was. I was thinking, he's not a well-known, big-name player. He's not proven in the Premier League. He actually came in that season and silenced the doubters and performed really, really well and looked unbelievable. Looked every bit of every penny that we paid for him. But the second season he's had at United just wasn't as good, was it? It wasn't as good. He hasn't done it consistently enough. On his day, he's as good as anybody. He could be the next Thierry Henry, he really could. But he doesn't do it consistently enough. Now, if you sign a player like Van Persie or a player like Romelu Lukaku, who's got that proven track record in the Premier League, then you're not guaranteed, but you're much more likely that they're going to replicate that previous form for you in the new team. And I think that is why signing a player like Lukaku could be the catalyst, like you say, that Robin Van Persie was that fired us to the Premier League trophy. So I totally agree with you. I think that could be what's missing from our side. We had Zlatan coming in there, of course, doing it last year, but I think Lukaku, if anything, is a bit more clinical. I think Zlatan's a better all-round player, more experienced, but Lukaku's younger and he's going to improve more, and also he probably converts, this is going out on the limb here, I don't know the stats, but I'd say he converts more chances than Zlatan, because I remember Zlatan being a bit of an Andy Cole when he had that great season for us last year at United. He was sort of like, get 5 or 6 chances and he'd bang one in, but he'd miss a couple of sitters. He would, and I don't think Lukaku misses as many sitters as he does, because he's feeding off more scraps at Everton as that lone striker. When he gets a chance, he tends to put it in the back of the net. So if we can produce for Romelu, if we can give him that service that he needs, then I don't see why he can't score 30 goals next year for Manchester United. If he can score 25 for Everton, and they're not as good, they don't play as an attacking brand of football, they don't create as many chances, I think if he's at United and he's getting the service, he can score 30 goals. So I totally agree with you, pal. Gary Wells comments, hi Gary, he says, Chicha loves our club, he's a fan, would be great to have him back on a cheap steal of a fee. Totally agree with you. If we can bring Javier Hernandez back to Manchester United, what a move that would be. The fans would love it. We love Chicharito. I loved him anyway. I just thought he was such a great bloke. He was like the Mexican Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, baby-faced assassin coming in there. Super sub. Ferguson got him for, what, £6 million from Guadalajara, and he came over and he surprised everyone. We were like, who's this Mexican lad? Who is he? We've seen some YouTube videos, looks good, scoring crazy amount of goals. I remember watching the YouTube videos on the number of goals he was scoring over there was pretty great, but he actually defied logic, that man, because when he was over in Mexico, he didn't score that many goals. But when he came to United, he did. His conversion ratio was brilliant. He took to the Premier League like a duck to water. So what I was saying earlier about players coming in and all being proven, sometimes you can't really put your finger on it. It works both ways. A player can come in and be a bit of an anomaly. Hard to say that bit of an anomaly. And just perform. And he did that. He's always been consistent for us. Who was it that twat Louis van Gaal got rid of him, or was it Moisey? It was Louis van Gaal, wasn't it? What an absolute Dutch toad. What was he thinking, that bloke? What an idiot. Getting rid of a natural-born finisher, somebody who's pretty much happy to feature not all of the time and come in there and score a load of goals. I mean, he's gone over to Leverkusen. He's been good over there. Had a spell at Real Madrid. If Real Madrid want him, he's a good freaking player, so I don't see why we got rid of him in the first place. I would love to bring Chicharito back to Manchester United. I hope we pull it off. If it come to the end of the transfer window and we've signed a holding midfielder, we've signed Lindelof, we've signed Lukaku and Javier Hernandez, just those 4 players, and of course the centre midfielder I'm talking about is just whoever. But if we sign 4 players and improve those positions and got Javier and Lukaku up top there, I think that's a great transfer window for Manchester United. It really is. Because you've got Rashford, the up-and-coming striker. You've got Lukaku, the ready-made striker who's going to get you the goals. And you've got Chicharito, the super sub. That's a trident of penetration right there, lads and lasses. That's about as good as you can get. So, yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. Let's bring Chicharito back here. He's got an affinity with Manchester United. He should have never left in the first place. Gutted when he was sold. You can watch a video, actually. I don't know what it's called. United sell Chicharito to Leverkusen. And I'm basically slagging off Louis van Gaal in that video because it was ridiculous to me that we let him go in the first place. But I think, just to warn you, I think I also say why are we signing this unknown player Martial in that video. So I'm not always right. But there you go. So yeah, totally agree with you. Anyway, we should bring Xavi Hernandez back to Manchester United, and he can sort of fill in and help out Lukaku and also Marcus Rashford. Abdi Ali says, why are we taking long to announce the Lukaku deal? Well, it's because this is all an absolute piss take and he's going to sign for Chelsea. No, I do think it's a done deal now. It's ridiculous. He's had his medical over in LA. He's also been arrested over in LA or something, been given some sort of a citation for partying hard long into the night. So this man knows how to get down on the off season. But we don't care about that. As long as he comes and focuses when he's here, then that's all right for me. But yeah, we are taking our time to actually announce the deal. I don't really know why. The medical's been done. Surely it should be a formality now. Everton have got Rooney. Manchester United, don't worry, we are going to sign Romelu Lukaku. It's pretty much a done deal. It's just we've got to announce it. I'm just waiting for it to happen. They're probably going to do this big press conference and all that malarkey. So they're just waiting. He is over in LA. Manchester United are over there, of course, on our pre-season tour. So maybe they'll do something over there. Who knows? King Hailstone again comments and says, do you think Ashley Young has a future at United? I sort of do. I mean, I don't really like the antics of the man with all that diving around like Tom Daly. It really doesn't suit me. It doesn't fit Manchester United. I don't like that. But he's actually a good player. You know, he really is. Go back and watch that 8-1, 8-2 destroying of Arsenal when Manchester United battered them. And Ashley Young scored a couple of unbelievable goals. You know, on his day, he's a really good player. He's a useful player to come in. He's also a pretty versatile player. He can play that sort of wing-back role. He can play left mid, attacking left mid. He's a good English player. You know, we need homegrown English talents in this side. We do. He's never going to be a first choice. He's never going to be a second choice. But United are going to be battling on a lot of fronts next season. So I think he's a player we should probably keep around, you know. Would I care if he left? Not really. But I do think he's got something to offer Manchester United, as I do with Marouane Fellaini. You can't have your first 11, your best 11 out there starting games every single game. It doesn't work like that, especially when you're in the Champions League, League Cup, FA Cup, Premier League, all these different competitions to play, and you've got to spread it out a little bit. You've got to have players to come in there and say you're playing, you know, a Crystal Palace or a, you know, Milton Keynes in the League Cup. Probably a bad example because they battered us 4-0 when David Moyes was here, didn't they? Unbelievable. But you know, you've got to have players who are better than that standard of player to come in and fill in the void of your first string player and perform and win the game. And I think Ashley Young's one of those players. You know, he has been quite a consistent England international over the years. I'd keep him around anyway. Dorian Wayne, thanks for your comment. Dorian comments and says, Chicharito wants to play. He doesn't want to be just the sub. I kind of disagree with that. I mean, I think that was maybe some of the reason why he left. But then he's gone over to Real Madrid and he's been even more of a bit part player for them, but still enjoyed some success there and was part of a very successful side. The accolades he's winning while he's playing for those sorts of teams, they're better than, say, being a first-string player at Bayer Leverkusen, in my opinion. They just are. You know, he just needs to accept that maybe he's not ever going to be that star player at one of the top sides in the world, but he can be the player that comes in like an Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and puts his name in the history books. You know, Ole Gunnar scored the winner in the '99 Champions League final. He put his name in the history books. He's renowned for being that player that comes in off the bench and scores goals, and so Xavi Hernandez. So I think if he puts that behind him, if he just accepts the fact that, yeah, I'm never going to be number one, but I can still have a huge impact, I can still score 15 goals. Mourinho said it better than me earlier on in the season when he said he would have never sold Xavi Hernandez, and he is that type of player who can come in, and you need to come in and get you 15 goals a season from the bench. We need a player like that. So I think if Xavi Hernandez just accepts that, from the outside looking in, I would say that was his most successful period as a footballer while he was at Manchester United, Xavi Hernandez. So why wouldn't he want to come back to United? If he loves the club like I think he does, bring him back. Gary Wells says, never understood Van Gaal getting rid of Chicharito. It was totally ludicrous, I agree. I know, what an absolute Dutch twat. Seriously, I mean, he's had a bit of a legacy as Louis van Gaal, because he gave opportunities to younger players. He brought in Martial. He's given the opportunity to Rashford. And there's a whole bunch of other youth players that he gave opportunities to as well. And if his lasting effect on Manchester United has given us Marcus Rashford, then fair play to you, Louis. But he also did some pretty shitty things, like selling Xavi Hernandez. And I can't quite think, but who was the other player that he sold that we should have just not sold? I can't think now. It's just absolutely gone from my head. But a significant player we should have just kept around at Manchester United, and we just didn't for some reason. Louis van Gaal got rid of him. It's gone from my head right now. But there you go. Abdi Ali comments and says, Young was class under Fergie. Agree with you there. Everybody was, though. Alex Ferguson was just the best manager ever, wasn't he? We were so spoiled when we had him. He got 100% out of every single player most of the time. You know, he really did. 60% of the time it works every time, but he did get the best out of these players. Ashley Young looked like a world beater when Alex Ferguson was there, and so did a lot of the other players that went off the boil. I mean, Wayne Rooney, while he was there, of course he's aged a bit, but he was one of the best players in the world at one point, was Wayne Rooney, and that was under Alex Ferguson. There's a whole host of other players as well that performed. You know, the likes of Smalling and Jones and those sorts of players that performed really well when Sir Alex Ferguson was there. But when he left, it's all gone to shit. You know, these man management's a huge part of the game, and that's something that Alex Ferguson was better than anybody at. So, you know, I think Ashley Young's got a lot to offer still. Martins Biemis comments and says, well, Van Gaal got rid of poor Chicharito because he didn't score a penalty. And Toad thinks that's not good enough. The Dutch Toad, what an absolute twat. Yeah, I seem to remember what you're talking about now. What an idiot. What an absolute freaking Dutch idiot that bloke was. Jeff Hindley comments and says, what are the girls like in Bournemouth, fella? Right, well, that's a bit of an off-topic question. Going to have to be careful how I answer that because my missus might watch this. But I have to say, Bournemouth girls are pretty damn awesome, to be fair. They're all stuck up in pretentious tosspots, though. But in terms of looks, it's pretty much like the Los Angeles of the UK. There's some really hot chicks around. You go out clubbing on a night out, you're going to see a whole host of Fanny. Oh God, I hope my missus isn't watching this. But anyway, that's just the truth. It's pretty decent. So if you've never been to Bournemouth, come down here, try your luck. But just bear in mind that they'll probably go like this when you try and talk to them, and then that'll be that, because they're a bunch of twats. But still, there you go. Not all of them, of course. There's some nice ones, but they're usually the, you know. Anyway, Dorian Wayne says Martial was more of a gig signing. Don't really know what you mean by that. But are you saying that, you know, because Ferguson signed Giggsy when he was 16, there was a whole host of clubs going for him. It was a bit of an unknown entity, come in and perform straight away. Is that what you mean? I don't really know. But yeah, certainly when Fergie went and sealed the deal with Giggsy and he came in there, what an unbelievable player. Still my favourite Manchester United player of all times. That's it. There we go. Aaron Holidays commented and said, Welbeck. Gary Wells commented and said, Van Persie's good point at that as well. Why would you sell one of the best players in the world? But I think he was reaching the latter part of his career and diminishing slightly. But Welbeck, yeah, Manchester United through and through. That's exactly the player I was thinking of. We sold him to Arsenal. What were we thinking selling him to Arsenal? Lucky for us, he's not really done too much over there. Because if he'd have gone on and performed really consistently well for them and progressed in his career, then we'd have been kicking ourselves even more. But we should have never got rid of Welbeck. He was really, really good player for us. Worked his socks off. Very versatile. Play him out wide. Play him up top there. Good pace. Good finisher, you know, not the best finisher, not the best technically, but a good player. And he was Manchester United through and through. And you can't get enough of those players in your side. You really can't. When it comes down to the derby games, when it comes down to the big important matches, those are the players that really know what it's about to represent Manchester United and fight. So yeah, I totally agree with that one. Welbeck, we should have never have let go. Louis van Gaal, you absolute twat again. Oh. Martins Bemis again comments. Sorry, I'm just reading comments out. Sorry if I've missed yours. I'm just reading loads from certain people. But man, must be a great jubilation to see LVG go, Flying Pig United. It really was. You could probably check my video out, Louis van Gaal sacked or whatever it was. And yeah, I was absolutely over the moon because I just had enough of that Dutch toad, quite frankly with you. Guled Issy, he comments, thanks for commenting, buddy. He says this season is Martial's. Martial will score 20 Premier League goals. Wow, that's a bold statement, pal. That would make him one of the best wingers in world football if he could score 20 Premier League goals. Do I think that's going to happen? No. But do I think he can improve and this be his best season for Manchester United? I do. I agree with you, and I think he's going to have to do that. Otherwise, it's just not going to live up to the expectation that we had of him because, you know, it's all well and good doing it now and then and when you fancy it, when you want to play. But you've got to do it on a consistent basis. And I think if Mourinho's going to give him that role of being that, say, left mid player in the three, then he's going to have to perform. He's going to have to score goals. He's going to have to assist his teammates. He's going to have a better season than he has over the last 2 seasons. I totally agree with you. Archie comments says, Pig United still need a right back. Valencia is too old. I totally disagree with you there, Archie. I do. It'd be nice to bring in a young, up-and-coming right back, somebody like like when we had Rafael at the club, somebody who can come in there and he's going to perform well and he's just going to get better and better. Even though we saw him, of course, but somebody like that, who can come in and deputise. But I don't think Valencia is too old. What is he? 32, 31? I don't know. But for me, he was the best right back in the Premier League last season. Best wing back at least. He just fulfilled that role of being really solid defensively and also giving you that venom going forward, giving you that ability to surge forward, take the ball forward, get a good ball in, like a Dani Alves type player. He reminds me of that Barcelona Dani Alves when he's good defensively and then he's just an absolute flying machine going forward. So I sort of disagree with you, but I think we could do with signing somebody to to come in there and perform when Valencia is not there, because the likes of Darmian and that sort of thing, it's just not good enough, is it? Oh, drop the mic. Not in a good way either. Abdi Ali says Kagawa, Nani, Evra, Rafael and Zaha too. Those are players that he thinks Manchester United should have never got rid of. I sort of think Nani we could have done with, actually. Nani was a good player, although towards the end of his United career he didn't look good enough. When Sir Alex Ferguson was there, he was quality, wasn't he? Really great match-winning player was Nani on his day. Looked like a potential of being maybe the next Cristiano Ronaldo. So, although we got them similar sort of times, he didn't live up to that. And but still a good player we could have done with. I feel you on that one, I really do. Kagawa, he'd gone over back to Bundesliga and just started performing straight away like that. But he's another example of a player that's come over to the Premier League from somewhere else where they've been banging in goals left, right and centre, assisting the teammates left, right and centre and being an absolute machine. And it's just not happened for them in the Premier League. Now, I know we had Moyes at the time and it didn't happen for anybody and it was always going to be difficult with Sir Alex leaving. I know that is a huge factor. But he didn't perform, did he, for Manchester United, really? But I do hear your point. I think he's a good enough player in a different system, used correctly, could have been absolutely prolific in the Premier League. So, yeah, I feel you on that one. Dorian Wayne says, Martial reminds me a lot of a young Rooney. That's high praise indeed for Martial. I must say, Rooney, to me, at that age, was 10 times the player Anthony Martial was. Maybe not 10 times, but he was a much better player. I think he was a better player at 18 than Martial is now at 21 or whatever he is. He was just a complete match winner from very early on, so physical, so dominant, great finisher, great in terms of being creative as well. I think Wayne Rooney at that age was better than Martial, but interesting point there. What were the odds that Runes goes back to the Toffees? Remembering me asking you last season about it in one of your streams. Yeah, I know. I mean, I don't know what the odds were. That would have been a really good point, a really good bet to have. I think you'd have probably got something like 4-1, 5-1, something like that to win your bet of getting Rooney back to Everton, because there was a whole host of clubs that could have signed him. There was talks of MLS clubs, there was talks of China, so I think you got good odds on that. And bearing in mind that's probably that's the team that he supports. That's probably the most realistic of all the options. So that would have been a heck of a bet, whoever put that bet on. Alex Rincon in the house. How's it going, Alex? A legendary subscriber. Follow him on Twitter. He says, we still have Darmian, Twanzebe, Bailey and Lindelof that can all play at right back. There's some very good points. Phil Jones as well. He can play at right back, can't he? But yeah, Darmian, just not good enough in my opinion. But as a deputy, as somebody to come in when we need him to, not a bad player to have around, but I would move him on and bring somebody else in, because I just don't think he's ever going to be really that good. Twanzebe, now he's a player that has all the potential in the world. See, that's what I do. I'm more of the sort of, I like my teams to be managed like I would manage a team on Football Manager. I want to have a player who's going to be ready-made like an Antonio Valencia. Then I want someone to come in who's got the potential to be better than Antonio Valencia, and then give him that experience gradually, like a Twanzebe. So yeah, I totally agree with you there. That's a good point. Maybe we don't need to sign a right back. It's not really our main priority anyway. We could do with a holding midfielder before that, and maybe even another striker like Xavi Hernandez. Just want to say again to everybody who's in here right now, thank you very much for commenting and getting involved with this live stream. Just thought I'd, make a little video. Monday analysis. Haven't done one for a little while, I don't think I did one last week. I'm going to try and do one every single week. This is Monday analysis, so, thanks for tuning in. Chuck a like on the vid. You can also follow me on social media for Manchester United related news and stuff. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all Mr. Flying Pig HD, so please do that and subscribe to this channel if you're new around here. But we're pretty much going to wrap it up soon, but I'll take a few more final comments from you legendary subscribers. The Bacon Brigade! Appreciate you guys tuning in. Paul Lucas comments and said Woodward should go wherever Moyes has gone. A little bit harsh. I think Woodward's done reasonably well over the years, bringing the big players in when we've needed them. You know, the Zlatan Ibrahimovic move, that's a masterstroke. Even bringing in Falcao when we had Moisey there, that was a masterstroke. Just turned out he was shit because he was coming back from a big injury and he couldn't do it. But on paper, Falcao at Manchester United, what a signing that was on paper. In reality, shit. But there you go. Gary Wells says Blind is okay at left back too. He totally is. In fact, out of all the positions that Blind plays at, I think his best position is left back. So, you know, I think he's a really good player, really good ball playing defender. Totally agree with you. Dorian Wayne, Andreas Pereira could be just as good as James if given the opportunity. They basically play in the same position as well. You know, we have got some good young players in the pipeline. It's 100% true. There you go. But yeah, I think Manchester United just need to focus on improving our first 11 here, and then the rest of the players can fight it out, and the future of Manchester United will pretty much work itself out in terms of those players progressing and knocking the other players out. But certainly like Antonio Valencia, I think he's going to be pretty much one of the best right backs in the Premier League again this season. I don't see why not. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up there, but thank you very much for tuning in to this edition of Monday Analysis. I hope you have enjoyed it. Hope I've given you some food for thought there as well. I appreciate you guys tuning in and commenting. All you guys here right now commenting. You're a bunch of legends. The Bacon Brigade. You're legends. I'll try not to do that too often. But yeah, thank you very much for tuning in. I do appreciate it. Make sure you do chuck a like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed, and follow me on social media. It'd be much appreciated. And get your comments in once this video's been published as well, because what will happen is this video will finish being live. It will be published in a few minutes on YouTube. Come back, give it a like, subscribe, and also just comment below when the new video has actually been published, and that way they'll stay there permanently, because these comments here, of course, I've made them stay permanently by actually putting them there on the screen, but nobody will be able to respond to them post video. But if you come back after this video has been published to YouTube, you can comment, and I'll respond to them, and so will other people, and we can just have a bit more of a debate. But get your thoughts and opinions in about anything I've discussed in this video, whether you think I'm right or wrong. I don't really give a shit. It's just my opinion. Football's great because it's a game of opinions. These are my opinions. You don't have to agree with them. Quite frankly, if you don't, I don't give a shit, pal. If you do, let me know. If you don't, let me know. Either way, it's all good. And also just let me know what you think about the major talking points that I've talked about. Wayne Rooney wearing pyjamas, Diego Costa being a huge twat, Manchester United stealing Lukaku off Chelsea, you know, those sorts of things. Get your thoughts and opinions in. Javier Hernandez, Alvaro Morata, who should United sign? Get all your thoughts and opinions in below, and I'll be hearing, you'll be hearing from me very soon indeed. For now, this is the Flying Pig on Flying Pig United. I'll catch you very soon. Thanks for tuning in to Monday Analysis. Have yourself a really good week. I'll be bringing you up to date with all sorts of Manchester United news, football news around the world when it breaks, i.e. Romelu Lukaku signing officially for Manchester United. So keep a lookout for that on the channel, and anything else I'll try and keep you up to date with. But thanks for tuning in. Have yourself a good week. This is the Pig. Take it easy.